sweep team, and as yet I'm still not there. But I think something from the parish council, potentially to them, but also to the guy who's doing the speed watch in that area, I think would be very helpful.
Yeah, just speed watch that area regularly.
Yeah, because there's a policeman who's obviously liaising with them, and if he could be contacting county to say that would actually be a real benefit, then it helps make the case.
Yeah.
But I think we do need to follow that up, because otherwise if the police either don't respond or they respond negatively, then they won't extend that limit.
Okay. And then there was this other one from Mr. Cromwell, actually, who was drawing our attention to a footpath.
Which is the one we were chatting about.
That's right, we talked about it earlier on, didn't we? So there are 3 items of correspondence which we had.
I believe that footpath is different to the one we were talking about earlier.
That
is the one by the school.
Opposite tennis, starts opposite the tennis club.
Yes.
Yeah?
Yeah, that's not the one that runs down to Body's Name though, is it?
No, it's after the first field, footpath across the second field, it's been fenced.
That is the same one, isn't it?
Yeah, rather narrow, muddy and flooded.
Right.
Normally can they open the gate beside the path, but they have now chained this gate if the path was maintained.
Right, okay.
This is the path we were talking about.
Yeah, okay. So you were approaching it from Body's Name?
Yeah. Okay, finance.
Finance. Because it's sort of end of year or end of last year, quite a lot of sort of subscriptions and things this time. SLC, well, first of all, on the statutory payments, there's no change there. That's all in line with where it should be, 1,574.88. That includes Jason, salaries and tax, NI and GB Sports. The variable payments, you'll see there are 2 subscriptions there, SLCC membership and also ALCC membership. SLCC and ALCC have now split. What it is basically, SLCC used to cover all clerks' matters. SLCC did a wider brief in terms of advising councils and providing a service. What they've now done, they've taken part of it out of the frame, and ALCC, Association of Local Council Clerks, has now been set up separately. It's the same thing that's run by the SLCC, but it's run separately. What it does effectively is it supports clerks on an individual basis. Should a clerk, for example, have an issue that they feel they need advice on a personal basis rather than necessarily as a council. So it was always there within SLCC, they just split it. So it doesn't cost us any more money, but it just means that we made 2 payments now instead of 1. That's all it means effectively. So 140 for SLCC and then 40 for ALCC. Actually, it's been split for about 2 years, but I decided to let it settle down a bit before we started paying a subscription to it, to make sure that it had some longevity, which it does appear to have. The energy account for the 3rd of December is £33.83. The class expenses and allowance for the quarterly period October 2004 to December, you've got a copy of it in front of you if you want to make any comments on any of that. Slightly higher because there's a couple of domains in there that needed updating. There are three yearly domains for the BrentKnoll.co.uk website for the use of that particular name. The external audit fee, which actually they'd forgotten to invoice us. They should have invoiced us last July, and haven't just got around to doing so. 240 there, plus with a £40 VAT. Playing Fields Association, £15. That's a minimum fee that the Playing Fields Association ask of us to belong to their association. And the Decision Power website fees for January 20 to December 20, 402, which includes some hosting fees as well. And obviously VAT of £67, which is included within that 402 and is reclaimable. So they're all the payments listed for this month. So if you have any questions, queries, right?
Sometimes, presumably, you have to come up suddenly from folder.
Yeah, but I only claim from Taunton. I only claim from Taunton because we have a problem, because effectively when we're up here, we live in Taunton. So,
I just thought you were
the statutory rates say that the clerk, providing they live in the county of Somerset, can claim the full boundary cost from Somerset. So in other words, if I was out in sort of Minehead or somewhere, technically I could claim from Minehead to here.
Yeah.
Once you get outside the boundary, then you're actually out of claimable.
Okay.
So we live in Taunton part of the time, so I just claim from Taunton last year.
Right. Thank you.
Got the fees there. So is there any other comments?
Can I have a proposal that all these are paid? Yeah, Brian, seconded, Malcolm. All those in favour? Thank you. Well done.
Other financial matters. Precept of 33,000 has been applied for, and I've had a receipt for it, so they're fully aware of our agreements. Internet banking arrangements are now pretty well concluded, apart from Colin. I think yours still needs a registration, I think, doesn't it?
Yeah, I've never been given a form.
I'll ask them to send you a form. We're quite short stage. Bob and I both
Yeah.
signed up to it, but we need, we will, once we start internet banking, we will need three people. And ultimately we'll sort of wheel it out to everybody. But just trial it with a couple of people to start with from April. The Edge IT arrangements, well, I haven't done any more about that, but it won't be starting until April anyway, but I'm probably downloading the software in March, ready for April time. And the final thing is the VAT return. I've just claimed £1,011 from the Inland Revenue for the VAT so far this year. It's a lesser amount than last year because we haven't had such big bills, so therefore we haven't had so much to reclaim. So there's £1,000 that will be coming back into our finances for this current year. So that's everything on finance.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah. So we're on to matters of consideration. Can you cross those now?
Yeah.
3, 2, 3. Right, I'll try and be brief because this could be a long debate. The subgroup met, the subgroup of Brian, David, myself, Andrea and John, and we looked at our press, media and communications policy. We used the original policy we had, which was a recognised policy, and what we've done, we've slightly updated it. And I mean, I am assuming that you've managed to read this, which was circulated. I think John had a problem with formatting, but you can see that this is printed on. Yeah, so I don't know why. But I'll bring David in a moment, but if I can just say that there are, I think, 3 amendments that we are proposing. The first of all is, the first one is that each meeting, at the end of the meeting, we will decide or ask you to decide whether there are any newsworthy items that we feel we should be telling people about, for instance, our projects or anything in particular. And these will be circulated by agreement. If you look at page 4, 7.3, the clerk, in agreement with the councillors, will issue all press releases to the following interested parties based on the importance or relevance of the news. So, in other words, we won't necessarily go to the BBC, but we will put it in the BKN, Local Reach, Burnham and Weekly News, burnhamondsea.com, maybe Western Mercury, those sort of places. So we will decide at meeting where those postings go. The other change is on videoing. We were going to ask members of the public that they be recorded so that when people view our recordings, they can see properly what people are expressing concerns about or asking for particular information. So there's transparency between what the public are saying when they visit us and also our response later when it's discussed. We've said that we will have a quarterly newsletter, that's under 9.1, and that will be agreed by us all and distributed to all residents through the Brent Knoll News. The drop-in surgery will be kept on a Wednesday because it's a very useful item. We will have an annual Meet the Councillors event, and we'll have an annual general meeting, as we do with our parish anyway. And we're going to continue with our website, or our website contribution, because bear in mind, this website is not our website. We merely have a page within that website that it's felt we need to address and update. And the other pressing point is that I'm just trying to see where it is now. Where have I put it? Sorry. Under video, under 8.3, the recording of the meeting will be distributed by email URL link to the Nextdoor social media site. And this will enable, and David again will offer some further explanation on this, but it was agreed that this would go to only subscribing members of Brent Knoll on Nextdoor, and it would provide a link through onto YouTube so that they can view our meeting. We did discuss the fact that it may generate additional queries or concerns from members, which Owen may well have to respond to. So what we agreed is that it would be trialled for between 3 and 6 months to see whether we were all happy with the way things were going. So those are the essential, if you like, and have I covered that, Andrew? Are you happy with that? Covered the main points. So really I'll invite David now to present his thoughts on the Nextdoor plan and also the website contribution.
Well, I think you've explained the Nextdoor plan perfectly.
Oh, I'm sorry, David.
There's no further technical bells or whistles to add to that. It's a very straightforward thing.
Okay.
In terms of the website, I was interested when I heard you say just now that it's not our website.
No, it's not.
But did I not just hear Owen earlier on saying that we're paying all the bills?
Well, basically what it is, the council, in fact, Brian was the first person to get involved in a website for the village, and we've certainly, it's been an evolutionary process since then. We've always managed it. We pay for the updating and we pay for all the the running of it, but in fact it is a village website and not a council website. And I say there is a difference.
I understand that.
Because there are some councils that have a dedicated council website.
But you have just renewed the domains,
We've
which
renewed
means that the
domains.
parish council is the
We
nominated
own the
domain
domains.
owner.
We own the domains.
Right,
Exactly.
precisely.
So-
So it is our website.
But
But
we don't do any of the alterations to the website. That's done by decision power. They do everything in terms of managing it for us because we're not experts in managing websites. Dave obviously got much more expertise in it than we have. He updates and keeps things running for us, but he also deals with village organisations when they also want to update as well. And the reason why it all was channelled through myself in the main was the fact that we didn't really want any, when we first set it up, we didn't really want any sort of unsavoury stuff going on there. So we decided it was probably better if everything came through the clerk. Then it was, but I think over the years it has slightly dissipated from that because one or two people now do go direct through to Dave with calendar dates, which is fine. And if there are any calendar dates, it's not an issue. But there's no content going through other than coming through my channels. So in a sense we are managing it, but it is a village website as opposed to a council website, but we do own the domains.
Yeah, you must forgive me, David. I am not technically orientated on websites such as yourself, like yourself. Sorry, Brian.
No, we did say that we would review it every so many years.
Yeah.
A council,
Yeah.
4 years or whatever, 3 or 4 years.
But the important thing is, as David has pointed out, is that it is woefully under-resourced from the parish council. It is way behind in its data. It needs upgrading, keeping up to date with current members, current news, current business, and it needs to be developed more. I'm sorry, David. I'm sorry.
Absolutely
Please,
right.
Please. Yeah, I'm
Took the words from my mouth, Colin.
I'm talking too much. Yeah.
Well, I mean, in point of fact, I hope everybody received it. I've circulated a suggested note, which in essence says, well, in the same way that we review Jason's contracts every X years, it's been since 2012 since the website contract has been reviewed. Now it would seem, a good moment to do precisely that.
Can I just, I mean, obviously from a client, this is purely from a client's perspective, I have no say in the matter and I certainly don't have any vote on the matter. But looking at it from my point of view, I've obviously looked at it quite hard over the last 3 or 4 weeks. And I've also looked at a lot of the websites that are on other parish councils.
Mm-hmm.
We certainly have one of the better ones, I would suggest. If you look at most of the local ones, we are actually ahead of the others in terms of the actual structure of the website. And it is the most updated of all those I've looked at as well.
That certainly is very true.
Present company accepted with Andrew being here. East Brent is also fairly well updated. but actually a lot of them are not. And I feel that we as a council we go over and above what we're actually specifically.
Haven't you said the same thing, Owen, of the video? In that, you've pointed out, as have others, that this council is, in the kind of upper echelons of transparency because we video our meetings.
Yeah.
But only 12 people watch those videos. Now, by the same token, in the case of the website, because it has some of the shortcomings that we've discussed, it's not getting the number of hits, it's not getting the number of revisits, because once you've visited it, you're unlikely, unless you want to know about the existence of the diary, you're unlikely to go back to it. So I'm merely making the point that our website, as Colin was saying just a few minutes ago, is looking distinctly tired, jaded, and it's got a number of actual blanks in it. The features of the village is a blank page. Local businesses is a blank page. So it just merits some attention and reviewing it.
Are you
and in
thinking
doing
about
so-
replacing it or just updating it? Because there's a big difference, I think, between sort of saying, right, let's do more with the current one,
Mhm.
or whether we're going to actually revamp the whole thing and have a new website. I mean, is that, I'm not quite sure what we're suggesting.
Well, forgive me, Dave.
Mhm.
I think what we would like to see is it use what we've got at the moment. I don't think we want to go out and spend loads of dosh on something. I think we just need to make it what we've got as professional and as informative as we possibly can. And if it means completing some of these blank pages that David has identified, then he, because of his expertise, or he could talk to Dave. I don't know how it's going to work, David, but this could be taken on board. But I will be guided by the rest of the council. But that's my feeling. Don't reinvent the wheel. Make the wheel more efficient.
When we had our second group meeting, Colin, you were going to talk to a young person that you know in the village.
I haven't, but I'm because I didn't want to talk out of school. But if that's what you would like me to do, but I think you also knew someone. But I'm happy to talk to Martin Wilkins' son, who lives in Hill Lane. Both of his sons are involved in IT and web design, and I think they would help us. But I don't want to. If we are doing what Owen thinks we're doing is sufficient, but we need to upgrade our offering from the parish council, great, let's do that. If we need to influence the way the rest of the website is structured, let's do that to contribute to the whole thing. And
I think it doesn't matter for the council, really.
Bother.
I was just going to say what Owen just said. I think to some extent what we need to decide is what is the website there for. And obviously as it is at the moment, it's there as a point of reference if people want to. I understand what David's saying about if you've been there once, why would you go back? Well, then we need to decide, are we putting regular updates on there? Are we putting that sort of stuff on? In which case, who's responsible for creating that stuff and keeping it going on? Because that's the difficulty. I mean, we have had it drop off, I think, over the years, and there were more organisations that used to put more regular updates on their pages through us, and that doesn't happen quite so much. In terms of the business page, I think that stayed blank on the basis that the parish got into the discussion about, well, who do we put on there? And are we endorsing people by having them on the parish website?
Yeah.
Do they pay to have it go on there?
Yes.
In which case, does that start going through our accounts? And that's why the Red Cow sponsorship sort of stopped, because actually it was almost too much of a problem.
Did it stop?
They don't.
They're still on the website as the sponsor.
But they don't. Exactly. So there are stuff on there that I think does need reviewing.
Come off.
But we as a council need to decide what we actually want it for.
Okay, can I make a suggestion to probably bring this to a conclusion actually? But my thoughts is that we have once again our subgroup with somebody else, and we sit down and we go through that website.
I agree.
And we see exactly what the problems are, where the issues are, and where we can make it better. Because we're not going to decide now, and I don't think all of us appreciate, I certainly don't, because I don't go on there very often. I don't appreciate it, and I think if you're there, David, and others are there, you can point out where it can be made better, and they can bring it back to us, and we know then what we're all talking about.
The only thing I would say is that we, as far as my role is concerned, we fulfil all our obligations on the website.
Oh, I know we tick the boxes.
And you know, that, at the end of the day, what else is decided around that is a matter for the subgroup to decide how you want to change it. And of course, also, bear in mind involving villagers, village organisations, because they're also part of that website. So it's important that they get an input into it as well, possibly. if they're using it and it is their website, not
But
necessarily.
as Bob says, with the exception of the Village Hall Committee and the WI, and I'm running out, others are not using it and should be.
No, they're not.
Yeah.
I mean, it is, as you said at the outset, yes, it's not just there for the purposes of parish council information, it is there as a village website,
Yeah.
and we can do more to make that work.
Let's go through it and see where the issues are and see whether we can make it.
Why don't you at some stage as well, could I suggest that when you have your subgroup, look at the website, invite Dave Miller along?
Yeah.
Because he came along on the initial setup, we set it up with him originally, and he sat there with us and we did the whole thing at Richard Ibrahim's house, I remember. He's the guy to sit there with and say, look Dave, we don't like this, we think that's not being used, these things need improving, what can you do for us? And I think that's give him the first opportunity to try and have a stab at it. If you're not happy with them, perhaps you can put it out to somebody else. I would
So you
suggest.
didn't approach the Jason Mayo contract on that sort of basis?
Well, we're obliged as a council with a thing like a village contract to obviously to every so many years to put it out to tender. And we've
Doesn't
done
the same
that.
apply here?
It does in a way, I suppose. But I do think you ought to give. Dave has been a very loyal person to this council, and he's looked after our website very, very well. I do think we ought to at least give him the opportunity to say, Dave, what could you do with it? And then go out to tender with somebody else.
Well, may I go back to Colin's suggestion? If our subgroup continues in existence, at the next meeting we go through together, looking at page after page of the website. That then gives us something to say, right, well, do we now, at a subsequent session, get this gentleman to come in and
I think so.
hear our thoughts?
Look at it first, then get
And
David.
if Dave is not happy, can't provide what you're looking for, you simply say to Dave, look, actually Dave, we need to go out to tender and get another alternative.
Andrew.
The only thing I was going to say was that I wanted to, and I only wanted a short answer for this. How many went to the discussion last night about the parish at the post office?
20.
20. Now that went on next door.
Yeah.
Didn't
So-
see the website there.
No.
Nobody asked me to put it on the website.
So what
It hadn't
my
occurred to you saw the reply from John. Yeah, it hadn't occurred to him.
and I would have said that, all right, there would have been a cluster of people that would have known about that meeting because there was an interest, but there would be more people because of it was flagged up on next door. I'm just saying it's just a platform that, it might have this. It was just a notification. It wasn't asking anybody to have any correspondence or, I think that's a rubbish idea.
Yes, it came up on next door in a different format, hidden in something else.
Right, that's right.
Who called the meeting? I probably would have gone.
Oh,
John
Matthews. John
Matthews.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he actually put a notification on next door saying that there was going to be a meeting last night, to talk about, and that Caroline would be there, so it wasn't like a secret meeting, that she was involved, and that was nice. Well, I wouldn't have known about that. We wouldn't. Would we have known about that, any of us? And yeah, it would have been newsworthy if that was the case, that somebody could have put that on the website, to
Absolutely
attract
right.
some interest. That's only the point I'm saying.
But that's a lot of people still listen though anyway.
No,
No.
because there's only about 230 people on next door.
And they're not all Brent Knoll, are they?
No.
The Huntsville.
Yeah, because I can look at Cheddar because I work there.
Yeah.
So,
Sorry.
no, and I think that's a valid point. It was discussed last night at the meeting, how it was communicated, and the mistake, was it a mistake? Again, forgive me, I don't know, but it wasn't probably properly published. But it was a useful meeting. There was a lot of blue sky thinking or blue sky thoughts, but there were some positive thoughts from David, positive thoughts from Caroline to help, and really it needs someone to sort of step up, and I don't think members of the parish council have the time to step up. It's got to be a community-led thing, but David's got a useful contact through a foundation that help set up community shops. Kim has also got an organisation that will help. So there's plenty of advice going to come through. So we've just got to watch this space, as it were.
So really, sorry, David, some of the points you raised are very, very important ones, and I would say that I would not come to the review subgroup meeting, because I think you've got to look at it in a wider thing. I'm looking at it from the point of view of what the council obligations are. I'm not actually overly concerned from my role with what else goes on there and how it's distributed from the rest of the village, because my job is to put the council information on there and keep it updated. So,
Which you do.
and I will continue to do that.
Yeah.
Whatever format you decide to go with,
Yeah.
I will continue to do that.
Okay.
All right?
Yeah, you happy with
Yeah,
that?
happy with that. Very happy.
Everybody happy with that? Okay, right, well,
That's the website bit, yeah?
yeah, we're going to
Just-
leave, sorry,
Just a couple of things on
Yeah.
the policy itself.
yeah.
One really trivial, we need to change the date on the front of it, so it's 2020 as opposed to 2017.
Oh,
Dear.
nice spot.
I thought I'd amended that, I'm
You
sorry.
did, right?
Yeah.
And
sorry.
there's a couple of questions, if I could. On 7.2, you referred, and also 7.3, it talks about drafting a press release, and that's then agreed by the councillors and it goes out.
Yeah,
Do we know how it's agreed by the councillors, and what does agreed by the councillors mean? Does that mean that the majority of the councillors are happy with it? Does it mean that everybody's got to be happy with it? I mean, I think it just needs to be sorted as to what we mean to start with, as to how it's going to happen. So is that circulated by email and people respond, or what? So you just need to work out how the mechanics of that bit works. And the other one I was just going to raise as a slight query is 9.1, the quarterly newsletter, which it says the newsletter will be distributed to all residents through the Brent Knoll News.
yeah,
There's two things. One, there's a possible cost, because we do normally charge for inserts. And secondly, I would need to clear that with the distribution team, because they're not keen on having inserts because it causes more of a problem for the deliverers.
why could we not put the letter then in the magazine? There's a page in the magazine.
That's certainly feasible.
Don't
And I
So
mean,
we haven't got to distribute it.
And equally, the other alternative, just to flag up, and it's one that we've sort of come across in Andrew myself in East Huntsville, is they do their own sort of newsletter, which in effect they break the village up into 11 sections, and each councillor delivers 40 odd houses. So there are other methods that could be used. What I'm saying is we just need to
That's a better idea.
work out.
What's that?
Well, we can have our own little patch. We can look after a dozen or
Well, you haven't got much of a patch where you live.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, no, you will have. You will have. Yeah.
Can I do one final
Yeah.
typo on the 12.1, where it talks about who goes to the annual general meeting? It refers to parish council, local council and county council. I think probably the local should be district.
Sorry, parish?
So where it just says local council, that should
Just
be district
district,
council.
yeah, I'm sorry, yeah, okay.
What's that, an 8 out of 10?
Detention, is that? I mean, going back to 7.2, I mean, we could say a majority, use the word the majority, and it would be circulated by email. And again, Owen could ask for a response. This requires a response.
Yeah.
We don't need to see everybody's response, just say yes or no. And then it keeps email traffic down.
Well, every meeting, would it? Right?
Yeah, no,
But it will have
no.
to do.
Yeah.
no. Okay, then what we'll do, David, if you're my team are happy with this, we'll keep this document now until we've had our sub-meeting on the website and we look carefully at how we're going to maybe address 13.1 in a bit more detail.
Yeah.
Are we all happy with that? Ryan, David?
Yeah.
Yeah, John?
When should we meet?
We'll need to meet where we've got access to looking at the website. I really don't mind the meeting.
You can do it
Please.
here, of course. If
Can we do it here?
Yeah, you've got an internet connection here, so you can do it here.
Is there an internet?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We got
So someone's got a
anybody
laptop?
got a laptop?
Go ahead.
Okay. Can you bring your laptop then? Can you put it on a,
Put it up
get it
on
on
the
an
screen.
iPad as well?
Yeah.
You can put it up on the screen.
Yeah,
can't
on
you?
the screen.
Yeah, so we can get our, yeah,
There.
yeah, well, so we'll meet here again, and I'll fix can I look at my calendar and stuff and then
Yeah.
circulate something? All right, thank you. And then you've got...
Yeah, fine, book your room then.
Okay. Brilliant, well done, that's really good, thank you. Flooding matters, Crooked Lane, there's been some problems down there, haven't there?
Yeah, went and met up with the residents down there. Basically, there's a pipe that goes under the road, which is of a restricted size, which regularly gets blocked. Drainage board regularly go out there and clear it. But the suggestion that's been made to us is whether we could help support the encouraging the highways and drainage board to put a bigger pipe in there rather than the one that constantly is getting blocked. Now, it has also been flagged up that potentially if they're doing this re-sorting of the flow of water around the Station Road development, that maybe at the same time they're doing that, it ties into that network. So I think it's something that we just need.
Highways are aware of it, but it needs doing because the drainage board have asked a long time ago, but it needs to be pushed up their priority list because it was past time.
Yeah, so we need to push it up our own priority list now because that flooding is just not, it's inexcusable really.
So where is the, under which part of it is the problem? Which part of Crooked Lane?
It's coming out from effect. It's the gateway to Mr. Frost's field.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
Is
What
it
used to be
before
the
you get
Harris's
to the
field.
cottage?
Yes.
Yeah.
So
It's
the
on the
cottage
right-hand
is on
side.
that,
That's what it's
tiny bit.
affecting.
Yes.
And it
That's the
goes,
problem.
there's a gate, isn't there, in the field, and
Yeah,
a ring, and then
before
it
that
goes
gate on the road.
So in effect, the water that's on the right-hand side of the road is being kept artificially high at the moment.
Yeah,
isn't it?
which is
not
all the
flowing
water,
out.
all the water from South Brent Close,
Ah, right.
which is quite a big issue, or it could be.
All right.
That's fine.
Okay, does that conclude that matter, really?
Yeah.
And we've addressed Brent Street anyway, haven't we? Battle of the Lane post gates, I need to walk that with you and decide where the posts are going to go. I've spoken to the guy to ask him to put the posts in for us and a quote. I've told him exactly what we want to do, but I need to agree the posts with you and maybe the landowner, so we need to walk it, I'm afraid.
That's okay.
Okay. Will you let me know when you can?
Yep.
Village Green fencing, John.
Yeah, just to recap, we've been through the briefing on it. Just to remind you, I asked for 3 quotations. We've got 2 satisfactory ones, both from 2 firms who have done work on the green before. They're satisfactory companies. One is Premier Fencing and the other is Ian Morgan. The difference is that Ian Morgan wanted a total of £4,629, including VAT, and Premier Fencing wanted 5,203. So it was pretty obvious that Ian Morgan is in a prime position. I have been in contact with him. I said before we do anything at all, and I spoke to Colin about it, and certainly Colin and maybe Brian would like to come down to meet Ian Morgan on the green to establish exactly what he's going to do within the contract. And the contract, as it's written, is absolutely fine, but there are things that we need to decide with him. Maybe this would be on Tuesday of next week, which is, you said you were available then. I've got hold of Ian. He's supposed to be confirming with me to come sometime on the Tuesday morning or afternoon. Are you all right?
Only afternoon.
Yeah, well, okay. I'll see what happens then. There's nothing else to talk about on that. The only bit of an update is that there is this long culvert at the back of the hall, 17 metres long. We've talked about it. What's his name? Matthew Wall. Matthew Wall has got it on his list and he is going to do it. Clearly he is not doing anything about it at the moment because it's a bit wet, but it is going to be done as soon as possible. The final thing was spoke to Ian Morgan. Clearly, nothing is going to be done till about April on green. It's going to be far too wet, so we're waiting for decent weather.
One big question from me is what's happening to Mr Driscoll's hedge, which is by far the biggest hedge and provides a great degree of security for his garden and privacy.
Well, he knows it's coming. He knows it's coming down.
And is that hedge on?
It's on
our side of the green, is it? And he knows it's coming down.
Yeah.
And has he agreed to that, or?
Well, he's been invited to come, and as you well know, neither he nor Deb turned up for a meeting.
I remember that. I was the only one.
You were the only one because I forgot that went to the Jubilee.
Yeah.
But they were there, and
Well-
I've subsequently spoken to Jed, and I said, look, this is going on. And Jed has been the conduit to speak to those people.
Yeah, but I don't think you should do anything, John, until you've squared it off with Mr Driscoll, because there could be all hell let loose.
Well, I mean, the last time we spoke about it, I do remember you saying it's our green, and we could put a fence up there if we want to.
Who? I said that.
Yes, you did.
I don't think I would say that.
Well, because
No.
we're going to extend
No.
it. We've got
Have it in writing
No,
from all the houses.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think my
well,
stance would have been like that.
Well, I know I missed a couple of meetings in October, November, but up to that point we were talking about having a meeting with the residents of the three houses there.
They didn't turn up.
Well,
We've had
turn up.
one meeting,
Right.
which you attended.
Yeah.
Yeah, you were there.
Right.
But then we organised another meeting, and nobody turned up. But the key to this, David, is Mr Driscoll, because we were going to put the fence so far down there, and then we said, hang on a minute, you can't do that. You've got to do the whole lot properly, which of course is his huge hedge. And I still say I would never have said take it down anyway.
Because I would
So
not,
I think we
because
need to
actually
see.
I got the quote down to the hedge, and I was told to get the extended quote to do the lot. I've got the two quotes.
Yes, we did talk about it. I
Yeah,
said,
yeah,
while we're doing part, we may
Well,
as well do
anyway,
the whole
it
lot.
was said, but not by
There's
me.
nothing to stop all the
Oh,
fence in
it's-
front of the hedge.
No, I agree.
I just wonder, in terms of what David was saying, whether we officially, because as John said, we can't do anything on there until April.
No.
Should we be formally writing to the three neighbours saying this is what we're
Yes.
thinking of planning to do?
Yes.
Please write to us and confirm that you're happy.
You are
with
happy.
it.
Yeah, I agree.
Because otherwise, as you say, the contractor's going to start work on there and all hell might break
Yeah,
loose. So-
absolutely.
So the three are.
Well, I think the three.
Driscoll's, Jed Q. and
Butts, yeah, Jed Butts and Mr Driscoll.
Yeah.
confirming
But they-
proposals.
They've got, I mean, I've got it somewhere, I've got their written
That's
comments
exactly what we're putting up.
Yeah.
at the time.
So those are the descriptions of what they're putting up, presumably you've got there.
Are they identical? Are they identical, the fence that they're both putting up? Because last time Ian Morgan quoted for chain link fence. And then
No.
I said to you, that's the
It's a
chain
nine
link.
fence.
There's a what? Iron.
Metal.
Yeah, but we agreed with the same kind of metal as is behind the.
Premier fencing
Yes.
is that.
It's got nuts and
Yeah.
two panels out.
Yes.
If you want a specification of fence, then just check it's the thing. And then tell the
Same
neighbour
with
not
chain
chain
link.
link. We don't want chain link.
David, well done. He's got to redo the work.
So he may well be
He
more
did,
expensive.
He will have to redo the work because I didn't brief him on it, but I said I did brief him, but he has quoted for changing because
You
he
did,
forgot.
you did last time.
So can you make a note here?
Well, I'll get hold of it.
One, we're going to send letters explaining to them exactly what sort of fence we're proposing and what we're asking permission to do.
I think it'd be good to get
And
a
then
letter out on it.
John will get a revised quote
I will get
from
another
Ian
result.
Morgan Fencing.
He's on the wrong way.
Can I just have the description of the fencing that the other people have got for Premier, because that's what,
Yeah.
that's our
That's what's
guidelines,
going to
and
be done.
Yes.
that's what we're actually going for. So let's see if I can have the description, because I'll need to put that in the letter to them, what we're actually proposing to put there. Because the price at the moment is somewhat irrelevant to the owners of the property,
Yeah.
but what is important is the specification.
And what they're going to be
Mesh
looking at.
panel style fencing with a green finish.
Can Owen have a copy of it and then
Mesh plan. Have you got that on your computer, John, or was that came as hard copy?
I just came
Because if so, you send me a copy of it.
I might be. I've got 2 copies here. Actually, no, I don't want to get rid of this.
Come on, if you can.
Wait a second, see how many cards I've got.
You can scan a copy and leave them to me.
Premier fencing, this is all right. I've got 2 copies, so I'm going to give you 1. I'll give you one.
Okay, you send it back.
Just let me sort it out another bit. Then more. Premier fencing. Left hand side.
That's fine.
Thank you, John.
That's fine.
Okay, anything else on the screen while we're on it? Okay. Thanks, John.
Right.
Fox and goose safety concerns, it was brought up again very briefly at our meeting this afternoon, our drop-in surgery. Can we speak to Highways probably about this?
Can we?
Is it, I really think we should do more rather than just say, look, it's a problem. You know, it is a problem.
Certainly you raised it with Catherine Tyson when she came out of the village.
Yes.
She was going to go away and have a look at it. So
Yes,
So just
she left
remind
us,
her-
she went on
Yeah.
specifically
So
to
if
go
I
through
just
it.
remind her of what
Yeah.
was discussed,
Yeah.
and what her answers are.
Yeah, absolutely.
So-
Yes, Martin?
There has been surveying being carried out on that section of
Yeah.
road recently,
Yeah.
and I've heard rumours about making it an extra lane.
Oh, okay. When you say an extra lane,
That's only a rumour.
what, getting rid of some of the carriageway?
Possibly centre of the centre verge by the Fox and Goose, and making it wider there.
Oh, right, okay.
But that's only supposition.
Okay. So we'll put some pressure on Catherine
Okay,
Tyson.
well, questions?
Okay, thank you. Health and safety.
So can I just,
Oh, sorry, Brian.
there was a suggestion of a 40-mile-an-hour limit, wasn't there, on A38? What stage is that up to now? Do we know that one?
yes, I mean, there's a reported last time, and basically it's going into next financial year for them to actually implement it, because that, as well as putting in the limit, which they've accepted they're going to do, they've got to do a lot of stud work and repainting on the road, so that will be funded in next year's financial budget, so that's coming.
Thank you.
Thank you. Health and safety, can we just defer?
We can't do any of that
Yeah,
until
okay.
Nigel's here. So,
Speaker for the annual general meeting.
what happened? How this ended up on here was the fact that starting to think about the annual meeting, I decided to write to James Heapy's office, because last year we invited James along to talk to our public meeting, and he wasn't able to come because we left it a little bit too late. And his office said to me, and I have an email confirming that, we will put it in James's diary for next year. So I meant 2020. So I decided to write to the Wales Conservative office and say, we look forward to seeing Mr Heapy at our annual parish meeting in April, and so on. Can you just confirm? And they came back and said, well, because he can't make Wednesdays because he's in Parliament. So I went back to them. I did all this without really coming to you. I should have, a bit remiss really, I should have come to the council first. But I went back to him and said, well, you knew that he sat in Parliament on Wednesday last year. So what's different this year? to last year. Now, so far I'm waiting for a reply, but I suspect they'll come back and say to me that because he now has a sort of junior ministerial post, he probably needs to be in Parliament more than he was last year. I suspect that's what they're going to say, but I'll wait and see what they reply back.
I brought this up to you.
You raised it, Brian.
You spoke my guns in a sense, because we are a non-political group by definition, and I don't know why we are inviting a political person to be our speaker, whether it's Conservative, Labour, Liberal, Monster Raving Looney Party or whatever. I don't think it's right.
I think many, and I'm right, Bob, a lot of parish councils do invite the local
Yeah,
MP,
no,
whatever political
I'm
persuasion.
not interested in what other parish councils do, I'm interested in this one.
I think the only reason why there would be a problem is the sense that you're inviting that person as the local MP, you're not inviting them as the Conservative MP. So in the same way that Tessa Monk came and opened this extension, she did so as the Wells MP, not as a Liberal Democrat or anything else. So they're there to represent everybody, whether you voted for them or not. So that's why you're asking them to account for what they're doing, rather than what they want to stand for election. That'll be done at election time.
So what I need really is if they come back to me and say, yes, he can come, I think perhaps there's only a 50-50 chance of that happening. Is it your wish that I should invite him?
Yes.
That's really what I'm asking you. I need, you know.
Well, I don't think it will matter to me what political persuasion he is.
Well, it's just that we are a non-political group.
Yeah, but he's
By
not.
definition.
He's not representing us, so is he?
Well, that's just my own opinion.
Well, as Bob said, we've had Theresa Munt, or Tessa Munt here.
Well, not to the NHA.
No, but to open,
I would have thought a more local person would have been more sensible, but there we are.
Well,
That's just my opinion.
Perhaps we should put our thinking caps on then and submit to Owen our own ideas of speakers.
Good idea.
And then if James Heapy refuses, then Owen's got a backup that he can consider and come back to us all with.
Because believe it or not, we're only 3 months away actually. I know it sounds like a long time, but
Yeah,
actually
yeah.
it's 3 months.
Yeah. I mean,
Are we limited to just one speaker? I mean, the length of the speech is going to be the deciding factor, but...
We've had more than one in the past.
Yeah, well, we have, you speak on behalf of district and county now. I do a little bit, you do a little bit, and then we have a main speaker. In the past we've had, if you remember, Wessex Water did a huge thing on the waterworks they were doing.
Hugh Mackay did a bit for the school, didn't he?
Yeah,
One
yeah.
time.
Affordable housing at one.
Yeah, I mean, there was a very good guy from, I don't know whether it was from county, but gave a talk to us on the new waste management handling partnership that was being put in place. He was really good. Very interesting how they're rejigging the waste.
I think that might be quite a good idea.
The headmaster was good as well, wasn't he?
Yeah,
That's
that was
very
good. Yeah.
That's
I
right.
mean, yeah,
Good contribution.
Yeah, it's a good one.
yeah. He could come and give us an update on the school's activity.
Well, if, as you suggested, if we all submit,
Yeah,
after the meeting,
Yeah.
suggestions to Owen,
yeah.
because apart from everything else, he needs to wait and see if he gets a response from James.
Okay.
The other people I thought of, they really unlikely to get them here, but first bus. I mean, they'd like to come and
Do
talk
you
to
really
me.
think they
I don't think they would actually, that's why I said to you, I think it's very unlikely.
Yeah.
But,
They wouldn't be able to get here, no bus stops.
Brian.
We've got lots of buses.
While on the subject of speakers, remember last year I did a paper on ideas for improving the village, and we've got nowhere so far. I wonder if it could go on definitely next month's agenda.
Okay. Yes. Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. Right. That's the end of our matters.
this is right, do remind me.
Consideration. Can I remind you, and he's been sitting here really quietly taking it all in, saying I wouldn't be a member of Brent Knoll Parish Council for anything, but Andrew, nice to see you.
Thank you, Colin.
Do you want to
Nice
say a
be
few
here.
words?
One or two items I did want to mention, particularly about Sedgemoor, insofar that within the last month we have decided at an executive level to rebadge and rebrand. So you'll now see Sedgemoor Digital being the new logo, and it's a very futuristic type of design that they've used to represent the murmuration of starlings. This is in the designer prize. And to be frank, I'm no technical expert whatsoever.
To be frank,
Then I'm no techie either, but then I was interested in your conversations about issues in the what we call the CAP, and please don't minute this, so as I said CRAP, and he's friendly and I quite inadvertently, which is a customer access program, which is a much more techie arrangement for information sharing.
Right.
So customers can go along online or on the phone to get more information, and they will be helped through the system. So it's a much more direct access to the services that Sedgemoor can offer. The other thing I wanted to mention as well, which is closer to my particular department, we had a lengthy meeting that Bob was present at the other day about homelessness and rough sleeping. And there's one issue that seems to have risen recently, that we did a count in November around Bridgewater, admittedly around some of the more urban areas, and picked up a number of rough sleepers that were accounted for. And they never touched on the actual rural problem, and it is becoming an increasing problem across the rural communities. If any parish councillors should come across people that are clearly disadvantaged by not being able to have a roof over their heads, could we make some kind of log or record of it and hand that on to the district, so that we go through the housing advice team? Sarah Stillwell is the lady that's in charge of that. We've got a significant number, and it is growing quite alarmingly across the district, across the country as well for that matter. But it's rough sleeping specifically, because there is confusion between the two terminologies of homelessness and rough sleeping. Homelessness can be inflicted on the person, whereas rough sleeping is quite frequently self-imposed, and is there as a matter of choice. But they can be helped as well to get through the benefit system, if nothing else. So it's a very valuable service that we can offer to those people that we might trip over.
I don't think we've got anybody at the moment, have we? We have had, in the past, we had a chap that lived on the A38, didn't we, in a car?
That's exactly the kind of person that we're trying to identify and record.
Lived in the church.
In the toilets, yeah.
Yeah, well,
I don't think we've got anybody at the moment, though, have we? I'm not aware of anybody.
No, but certainly there was a regular
No.
resident in Rooksbridge of that nature as well. But it seems to be a growing problem, and universal credit is not helping the situation at all.
No.
Nevertheless, that's another one. And you've quite rightly, in my view, taken on the view of taking on what I call civil contingencies operated within the parish council. We have one in East Brent, and there is one at the county hall as well. I think that they could offer some advice on how to manage local emergencies at any rate.
Who does yours at East Brent?
Me.
You?
Yes.
Are you
Are you
available?
able to furnish us with
Yes,
those
I had no civil contingency to deal with.
Have you got a plan though, or a document?
Not even documented, no.
Oh, okay, right.
But I'm sure the clerk will be able to, our clerk would fill Owen in.
So if you
I'll
can
find out from Jim.
That's really all I wanted to say, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
No, thank you. Thanks very much for coming and your support. It's greatly appreciated. Thank you. Okay, matters of report. John. Cynthia.
No.
Andrew.
Oh, except for speeding. I watched two guys go through this village last night, yesterday afternoon actually, and they were tailgating one another, and they just went like that. I mean, it's getting to the point where it is so dangerous, and there's nothing to stop them. I know we talk about this all the time, but this one day is going to be a hell of an accident.
Because I don't think the new speed group actually monitor Brent Street at all. I think they're just concerned with their
Somebody
own.
ought to do it because there's so much speeding down there, it's unbelievable.
Rumble strips or something like that.
Yeah.
Stop them.
Yes,
Yeah.
definitely rumble strips. Something's
I
got
need
to
to
give
we need to
because
talk
it's
with
so
Catherine
bad.
Tyson
These
as well.
guys were just going like They must have been at 55.
Okay.
50 miles an hour.
No.
Catherine? No. Malcolm?
Yes, at the next meeting I would like to suggest that proposals and planning for the